most men are soft. And I believe a part of it is because we're telling them to tap into your emotions. I think men don't know how to process that because we're told to tap into our emotions, but by default don't think it's in our nature to do so. I think, men really need to be on a journey. They need to be on an adventure. They need like a rabbit to chase. They need something to focus on. So telling them to focus on their emotions all the time, I believe, distracts them. Everyone's afraid to speak their mind. Everyone's afraid of being called racist, bigot, misogynist, sexist, this and that. Then you speak with your boys in private, and that's how we all speak. But everyone's afraid to express how we truly feel online out of the fear of backlash. You should, one, have some skills to be able to defend yourself. You don't need to be a professional. As long as you know how to throw a little 1-2, you're with your family, you're with your missus. If something pops off, can I just throw a punch that's not like that?
If you were a fly on the wall in your current life, going through the journey that you've been through with all the confidence issues, with going into martial arts, what is one main piece of advice that you would give your younger self right now based on the experience you've had?
Welcome back to the Perform Well podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're looking for performance and wellness optimization so that you can not only smash your career, but also have a better life, better relationships, and better health. We believe that performance and wellness are yin and yang and work together. So listen in as we dive into topics that are going to help you optimize your life for the better. Welcome back to another episode of Perform Well podcast. We have Dan King and we have Shaun Jones, who is a YouTuber and commentator who focuses on fighting. He's also a fitness coach and has his own gym. And Shaun, it is an absolute privilege and honour having you on today, mate. How you doing?
Oh, thank you. This is a privilege as well. I love doing podcasts because it allows me to just speak my mind without having to feel so contrived like some of my videos do. Because when I'm doing a video, I've got to be like, so, in today's news, da-da-da-da. Whereas just having a conversation with two normal, great lads like yourself, it's a little bit more natural.
I would say we're normal, but...
That's great. I'm on the spectrum a little bit.
Yeah. We obviously want to get into your story a little bit, but the first thing we want to go through is the idea that men are weak in the modern age, because I'm sure you've heard this a lot about men are soft and they're not in touch with their emotions as such. So we just want to kind of get your take on it. That do you think that most modern men are physically and mentally soft nowadays? And if so, what is it that is causing them to be that way?
Yeah, I'm quite strong opinionated on this. I believe that most men are soft. And I believe a part of it is because we're telling them to tap into your emotions. And I think men don't know how to process that because we're told to tap into our emotions, but by default, I just don't think it's in our nature to do so. I think, men really need to be on a journey. They need to be on an adventure. They need like a rabbit to chase. They need something to focus on. So telling them to focus on their emotions all the time, I believe, distracts them. And it's fine to have emotions. Don't get me wrong, for anyone who thinks that I'm not saying that, but don't let them control you. And I believe that everyone's afraid to speak their mind. Everyone's afraid of being called racist, bigot, misogynist, sexist, this and that. Just say like sadness, like then you speak with your boys in private, and that's how we all speak. But everyone's afraid to express how we truly feel online. Out of the fear of backlash. I have many down days, and I just say to myself, "Oh, I'm feeling a little bit down today," but do what I got to do. It's fine. I've got to do this, and today, I might feel a little bit low energy, but it's fine. We just go again tomorrow. I think a lot of men, they will experience a new emotion, and then they will deviate from the path. And then, I always say that most men, they self-sabotage through escapism, and that escapism can be like drink and drugs and stuff like that. And yet we self-sabotage ourselves, and then that's what sends you down the bad path, and that's what makes you soft. I believe men just need to be disciplined. They need to be focused on a journey, and they just need to toughen up a little bit. But you know what? It radiates through the culture, especially in the UK anyway. Everyone's soft, everyone gets offended easily, everyone's afraid to speak their mind, everyone's afraid of being called racist, bigot, misogynist, sexist, this and that. But then you speak with your boys in private, and that's how we all speak. But everyone's afraid to express how we truly feel online out of the fear of backlash. So it creates a soft generation, and then we gravitate towards these figures, like if we're using Andrew Tate as an example. Why? Just because he kind of speaks how we all do in private, and we look at him and go, oh, he's brave for saying what we think, but then no one wants to say publicly that we agree with him on certain things. So everyone's just scared of being judged. But I don't, did that answer the question?
I think it was spot on, mate. To be honest, it's the kind of there's a lot of wokeism around, obviously, and touching on back on that point that you said about kind of the tapping into emotions. Do you think it is that when, as a man, we actually almost tap in too much to our emotions when someone actually says that?
I think so, yeah. And I think we, we all have emotions and it's fine, but like, I think men are confused because we're getting told by women and other men and the media, yeah, emotions this, emotions that, but I think we're processing it wrong. I think, it's fine to feel the emotion, but you still need to be stoic to a certain extent. You still need to be a leader in certain aspects of your life, within your relationship. You need to be disciplined. So yeah, feel the emotion, but don't process it as like, right, okay, now stop everything you're doing, sit back, and let's get the therapy. And how do you feel? I don't know. I think it's putting too much significance on it. It's putting too much significance on it, like it's this thing that's going to control your entire life. Feel the emotion, but the emotion is temporary. It's like happiness. Like, you're not always happy, but we're always told that, oh, you always need to be happy. Happiness is the goal. No, happiness comes and goes. And it's the same with most emotions. But if men just stayed on their path through the centre and let these emotions come and go, 10 years' time, they'll be in a much better position and they'll just look back and go, oh, yeah, that was a bit of a tough time, but it didn't deviate from my path. I know loads of people who let their emotions just control them, and there's nothing really wrong with the life, but they're controlled and dictated by their emotions, and they're so reactive, yet they can't stay focused.
And there's nothing worse than like a person, especially a man, that cannot control their emotions, because those tend to be the men that are the most dangerous. And at the end of the day, there's women out there, I'm sure there's some women out there that can kill a man, right, barehanded, I'm sure. There are some beasts out there, right? But most men, on average, are going to be the ones committing the crimes, the physical crimes especially. And so men, if anything, have a responsibility to be more in control of their emotions, because we're the ones that are potentially going to be causing most of the crimes physically. So I do like that. And also you mentioned earlier about it, when you chat to your boys, you chat differently to when you're chatting to girls or your parents, etc. And I do like that fact, because you can still open your mind up with your boys, but it's not in the sense of I'm crying about how I feel. It's like, here's my problem. Your boys will then banter with you, and then you can see, then you kind of get that rough feedback that allows you to then make decisions. You know what I mean? It's not like the same kind of level when you're with your girlfriend, where it's more of like an emotional kind of chat.
Yeah, I liked what you said there. I feel like you go to your mates for a solution, for a little bit more of a logical response. Once you get past the banter period, lads, I feel like killing myself. Ah, he's suicidal. Ah, no. Once you get past that part, and you get to like, no, I'm really struggling here. Your lads will give you the solution. Whereas, you get I've got a missus and we've been together 14 years. And if I'm having a little bit of a down day, like, we're super, super close and we're great, and, she's my soulmate and all that. But then even I know that there's limitations with what I can tell her, how I'm feeling at the time, because a lot of the time, even though she's really switched on, I'll say something to her and be like, oh, I'm really struggling with this, or I'm really frustrated with this. And I might just be venting, like, I'm not actually looking for a solution. And she'll be like, oh, I don't know what to say. Like, you'll be fine. And it's like, they don't really have the best advice. So I think, you go to your girlfriend for a cuddle, for a little cuddle, or a little, can you give me a head massage? Like that's it. But if you want the solution, you've got to go to your boys. And what you said there about the dangerous men, yeah, I love that. Jordan Peterson talks about it as well, doesn't he? It's better to be, a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I think, it's, if you're able to hold a baby and slay a warrior in the same day, that's the sign of like a man who is stoic and in control of his emotions. But all these rapists, all these murderers out there, they're the emotional ones, the ones who can't control the egos. So, there's a lot of like grey area that you span into when you start saying to men, yeah, get in touch with your emotions, feel every emotion. It's like, no, like feel them, but don't let them control you.
Well, one thing is you've touched on emotions there quite a lot, and like again, you're very prevalent in the fighting scene. How dangerous would it be if you had a fighter who was simply controlled by emotion?
Yeah, well, so that's a great question, because even when you look at the top level, if we're using that as the best example here, like, what do they say when two fighters are on the build up to a fight? Oh, he's in his head. He's in his head. He's getting him emotional. And like Conor McGregor, easiest example, he was an absolute master of getting in people's head, making them emotional. And then Conor would also say, as the fight got closer, Conor himself would become cold and stoic, and all the emotion and chaos would fade for him, whilst his opponent was riding high on, I'm going to kill this guy, I can't wait to take his head off. Then they go in there with just that sole objective of trying to KO Conor. Conor's fighting smart. The emotions are no longer in the way of the execution of the techniques. So I think it's very prevalent, and even on such a low level as well, like sparring. I'm only just getting back into kickboxing myself now, and I've had like 5 sessions back, and there's some beginners there, and it's sometimes harder fighting a beginner than it is fighting someone who has got a lot of experience, because typically they fight with a little bit more of emotion because they haven't been hit before, they get hit, and then all of a sudden they're swinging at you, and they're throwing with a little bit more rage. Me and this lad a few weeks back got into a little bit of a heavy brawl. It was sparring, and it got a little bit heavy because he head kicked me, and I was just playing, and he head kicked me, so I was like, oh, it's okay. So I give him a little sting and jab back, but then he started going a little bit crazy then, and I had to actually, like, we got into a clinch, and I had to push him off and said, look, let's calm it down a little bit. Too much emotion here. We're not learning. If emotions are in the way, you're not learning anything. Extrapolate that out into life. If you're constantly controlled by emotions, you can't see, what's that phrase? You can't see the forest among the fire, or something like that. You can't think clearly when all the emotions are in the way. Fighting, life, business, whatever. Tone it down.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I'm by no means kickboxer. I'll get absolutely my arse handed to me. But I did do a boxing fight. Please don't watch it and commentate on it, Shaun. But I do agree. When you're a beginner, it's different because they're so unpredictable. They don't follow the traditional pattern of the sport that you're doing. This is probably why Jake Paul facing MMA fighters, in some way you could say it was harder, and in some ways you could say it's easier, because in some ways MMA fighters are just different the way they attack you and come at you. But it is interesting. So when we come down to obviously this fighting style, is it something that a man should be doing regularly? Should they be doing martial arts? Should they be training in some way to defend themselves? And if so, is that the path to help them emotionally control themselves, or is that something that could potentially make them more dangerous?
That's a very good question, because there are a lot of knobheads out there who get into martial arts and just become a bigger knobhead, because now they've got skills alongside the knobheadness. But for the most part, from what I've witnessed, this is my limited viewpoint within my experience, a lot of people who do get into martial arts they get a bit more grounded. You're getting humbled at the end of the day when you haven't got the skills. Maybe you have some skills to be able to defend yourself. You said you've done a little bit of boxing, Nick. People, you don't need to be a professional, whatever. As long as you know how to throw a little 1-2 with your family, you're with your missus. If something pops off, can I just throw a punch? I don't really know what I'm messing with you. It teaches you a level of humility and gives you the quiet inner peace about yourself. Like, I don't know if I pull up to the lights and some lad's looking at me, I don't know who that is. Like, so am I going to get into an ego battle? Because if I'm going to kickboxing every week, or wrestling, or jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, and I'm getting beat up by these nerdy kids, or people who are very unassuming, because a lot of them really are, you don't know who you're getting into fights with. So that's just a little point on that. That some people will turn into bigger knobheads. Most people kind of chill out a little bit more. That being said, should everyone do martial arts? I believe yes. Or lifting. My message has always just been, look, if you're doing martial arts, do some lifting as well. If you're doing lifting, do some martial arts as well. Because I believe that you should, one, have some skills to be able to defend yourself. You said you've done a little bit of boxing, Nick. You don't need to be a professional. As long as you know how to throw a little 1-2, you're with your family, you're with your missus. If something pops off, can I just throw a punch that's not like that? Because most lads throw punches like, what is it, like that little Japanese cat?
Oh, yes, the one that sits on cars, yeah.
I actually do this exercise in the gym. I do the external rotator, and I always call it Chinese cat. And I always say it's like the one in the restaurant.
That's it. That's the one, yeah. So the rotator cuff punch. Yeah, so most lads throw like that, and most lads overestimate like their ability to fight. But if you just learn some basic fundamentals, I think that it just gives you that quiet inner confidence to walk around with your chest held high, going, you know what, like, I can handle myself a little bit. But then also the reason why I got into lifting, because I started martial arts first, was because I was always a little bit smaller and skinny. So even though I knew the technique, when I would spar and grapple with like the bigger fellas, they just overpower me. Now, it was because I was a kid. I was like 12 years old or whatever, or 14, 15 years old, and they were like fully grown men. But the logic for me was, oh, I need to get stronger. So I believe if you've got some form of physicality as well, combined with the martial art, and confidence and capability is your, should I say, competence and confidence is your goal, then those two things together are just, yeah, the best thing you can do. If you have to choose between one, martial arts.
I sorry, I don't want to interrupt you there, but I just wanted to agree with you so much. Like, I went into boxing seeing all these kind of skagheads, thinking, "Oh, great, everyone's a knobhead here." And to be honest with you, about 6 months in, they're the most humble people because they know that even if they can beat you in a fight, they're probably going to be worse off as well. Like, no one wins in a fight. One of you might win, but the one that's winning might also then be punched in the face. They'll get a bloody nose, etc. So you start to learn that you don't know who is going to be able to beat you. It's actually quite hard to tell. I am that 6'4" guy, by the way, that got beaten by a 14-year-old. So thanks for pointing that out. So I got put against a little kid, and it was just a bit of a plaything, right? So he was put against the ring, and my goal was just to like try and tap him. Obviously, I was trying to be nice because he's a little kid, right? And he's just defending away, and then I turn around, it's my turn. I'm against the ring, and he just smashes me in the chin, and I'm like, bloody hell, man! And I'm like trying to defend myself. But after that, it was just awesome, mate. Like you just, high five each other and say, awesome sparring session. But does this apply to women? Do women need to do martial arts?
I'd say more importantly so. If I had a daughter, like, I say martial arts is just as important as maths, English, and science. Like, especially as a daughter, especially in the UK, with what's going on right now. Like, it's a very unsafe place. I don't want to get into politics and all that, but like, we had some sort. I don't know if you've seen. I did a video the other week. We had some crazy lunatic at the bottom of our street. We live in a nice little area from Sudan, right? And turns out he's a known PDF file, right, to the police, and he was in a halfway house. So I've done a full video on my channel that actually blew up. I think it's on like 250,000 views. I didn't expect it, but I think because a lot of people related to it, talking about the safety aspect. And my missus was picking my 4-year-old up from preschool and walking with my new 3-month baby, 3-month-old baby. And yeah, and all this commotion was going on. This fella from Sudan, who was known to the police, PDF file, was chasing 2 12-year-old girls down the street, and they were screaming. Luckily enough, 2 fellas on a building site jumped out, grabbed a hold of them, and then called the police. And yeah, like, so, I mean, like, I just think it's more important because, like, my boys have got to grow up, like, knowing how to defend themselves in such an uncertain world. Don't expect them to be professional fighters, but just be competent. But if I had daughters, like, even more so. So I think for women, especially so, yeah, because, you're going to be overpowered by most men anyway, but if you know some technique, then you're just stacking the cards in your favour as a woman. So it's something I talk about all the time on my channel. Talk a lot about men versus women, and some people find it controversial, and I do poke the bear a little bit. I do be a bit provocative, but I get to the message of women. You need to know how to defend yourself 100%.
What do you think is like the barrier for women then? Because I feel like if you went on the street and spoke to a lot of women and went, oh, like, could you do a martial art, or would you like to do this martial art? A lot of them tell me like, no, I don't need that. Why do you think there's not more women doing martial arts?
That's a good question. I think there's 2 answers to that. I think one, it's the preconceived notions about martial arts. Maybe they think it's full of fellas, or they don't realise there's like female classes, female only classes, or they just feel they don't need it, and it hasn't hit home for them yet. So a lot of the women who get into martial arts, usually they've had some sort of event or something that's triggered them wanting to be able to learn the skills to defend themselves. So, a lot of women live in la la land. They don't have the same reality that men have. You've probably seen those memes where it's like me walking down the street with my husband, and it's the husband's mind thinking, okay, where's the exits over there? What's this guy doing walking up on us? Like, he's thinking in like a very aware manner, and then it switches to her, and she's going la di da di da di da di da. Most women don't really they're not thinking like we do. I go to Nando's and I make sure to sit with my back against the wall and I'm looking around, like, and that's just how I've always been. And you lads are probably a little bit the same as well. You'd always think, like, if a group of lads are walking up to you, it's always the man who's taking on the mindset of, oh, what are these going to do here? And you're not focused on the conversation that you're having with your girl, and she might not even be thinking of that. So I think most women just have never really had that trigger point that's made them go, oh, I need to maybe defend myself here. So, you know, which is a shame, because it means that something bad might have to happen, a little bit soft, or maybe a little bit lost in life, or slightly should do it really, is because they're not channeling the energy.
I mean, I definitely agree with you, mate. And
they go into the 9 to 5 that they typically don't like, getting told what to do by the boss, blah, 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 and coming home and they're sitting there and watching Netflix and eating pizza, and it's like there's got no, your energy's not going anywhere.
I definitely felt like the anger element inside me got controlled better, and confidence was there. And I think even if people just hit a bag, doesn't have to necessarily be like learning to throw a 1-2-4 combo or whatever. Just hit a bag, get some aggression out on the bag, and just feel that energy release. It's amazing. And also fitness element as well. Come on, like there's nothing harder physically, I think personally, than fight training. Like we're talking like red zone cardio, like, you know, level 5. With your heart rate just absolutely destroying yourself. And it makes you so fit.
Yeah, you know what you just said there about channeling the energy, I believe, kind of touching upon your first question, the reason why most men are a little bit soft, or maybe a little bit lost in life, to pivot it slightly, is because they're not channeling the energy anywhere. Like, they're going to the 9 to 5 that they typically don't like, getting told what to do by the boss, blah, blah, blah. Then they're coming home and they're sitting there and watching Netflix and eating pizza. And it's like, there's got no, your energy's not going anywhere. Not even just as a man, just as a human. It's like, we need to get the energy out. And I mean, the reason why I got back into kickboxing recently is mainly for the fitness, because I got up to like almost 100 kilos in body weight. I was like, right, let me get fit again. So, and then the skill becomes a byproduct of that. So yeah, it's unbelievable for your fitness.
Now, I think we both, obviously me and Dan were speaking about this before, we really wanted to dive into something that's quite personal to myself and Dan, and that's the fact that when we were younger, we were skinny and we were often bullied because of that. And, you know, when you're a kid, there's not much you can do about your size initially. Some people are just genetically gifted with growing out quicker. And I believe from your own story, you had that same kind of upbringing. I just wanted to kind of go into that a little bit and you know, figure out what it was that made you realize, you know, I've got to do something about this. What kind of trauma that you might have taken forward with you from that, and what kind of gave you the catalyst to do what you do now?
Yeah, man, I relate with that a lot, because yeah, I was bullied in school. I was always like a little bit of the outcast. I had mates and that, but I was always just a little bit different. Never really into footy. Always more so into like extreme sports and that. So yeah, I was bullied here and there, but I was doing martial arts at the time. The thing for me was I was always more scared of getting in trouble with the teachers, because I was a good kid really, than I was getting into the fight. So there was so many times, honestly, like I still had dreams about it, like proper trauma. I wish I could go back and just, I wish I would have just elbowed that kid. Just got him over my shoulder. Still remember this lad in business studies. Bah! This kid's leaning over my shoulder in business studies, saying something to me, and I was saying to myself, just elbow him, and I just wanted to bang. I was doing martial arts at the time, but I just didn't have the confidence to pull the trigger, because I was scared of what would happen. I'd never been in detention before. So, like, despite doing martial arts, that still didn't give me the full confidence. I think all I needed really was my mum or dad to say, listen, someone picks on you, like, punch the head in, crack the face in. Instead, because my mum and dad broke up, my dad wasn't really there. So, like, when I told my mum, what's the motherly thing going to do? She goes to the teachers and says, oh, Shaun's getting bullied. Can you move him in class? So I get moved away from the bullies, but then I'm still on the playground and still experiencing the bullying there. But then I did actually get into a couple fights in school, and you know, I broke this one lad's nose, which was amazing. But then I just felt bad. I felt bad. He called me girlfriend ugly, and I was like, let's have a fight after school in the tunnel. We had a little fight. I kicked him in the chin twice and punched him in the nose 4 times. His nose was like this big Saudi Arabian kid. Like, some people probably think I was racist at the time, but it wasn't. It wasn't a hate crime. Please don't put me awake here, Stormy. He was just calling me girlfriend. So, yeah, I'm going off on a tangent.
That's
So
right.
the reason why I got into lifting is because I felt like, well, if I lift a little bit and improve my physicality, then maybe that will stop me from even getting to that point, and then I don't have to fight. Maybe that will kind of stop the bullying from happening. But interesting little story. I'll just say it right now while we're on the subject. One of the bullies shown up at kickboxing one day. This is like a couple of years after school finished, and yeah, he was there. Michael, his name was. I won't give his second name. I don't want to dox him. But I was like, right, okay, you're here in kickboxing now. All those times, like in school, when you picked on me, and we never really got a chance to fight. But he was always the big kid in school, and he was even bigger now. Like I'm 5'10". He was about 6'2" or something. I remember him being really big. And I remember in kickboxing, he was really like making the noises and that. I was thinking, this is your first session. You've got a big head on you. So then we got to the sparring near the end, done a few rounds, and then me and him got paired up. We didn't even speak either. We just kind of went, all right, touch gloves. And yeah, we like boxed for a minute or two. And then I kicked him full force in the head with a roundhouse. So I went low kick, then feint low, go high kick. I remember kicking him in the face, and his, like just looked at me with complete shock. And I went, oh, you're okay? And he went, yeah, touch gloves. Did it again. And then just pieced them up, and then I never seen him ever again in my life. So that was my little redemption story of the bullies. So yeah, there you go.
Apologies for interrupting the podcast. We know you're getting fully engrossed into this episode, and we really appreciate you stopping on the video on YouTube or on Spotify if you found us through one of the search pages. Make sure to leave a review and a subscription if you haven't already. But we just wanted to interject a point here that me and Nick have 15 years of coaching experience between us, and it's only getting better as we've got better guests on the podcast. The only way we can do that, though, is with the growth of our program that we've just released. We've got a 12-month Perform Well program, which has just dropped, and we'd love you guys to get involved in it. If you want to learn more details, make sure to head to the description, as we've got our website in there, which can give you a full overlay of the program. We're looking to help career-driven professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone dominate their life by improving their lifestyle. Me and Nick like to claim ourselves as experts in this area, and if you want to check out some of our other transformations, I'm sure you do. We've got some amazing people who have performed so well off the back of this program. Have a cracking day, and we really appreciate your time. Let's get back to the podcast.
That's fair. No, it's completely fair. Similar to like the stories of myself and Nick, like you said about kids in classrooms as well. The worst bit is that I had like kids in the friendship group that I was in, which always makes it so much more difficult to manage at that point in time. And I was part of what was considered like the rugby boys group at school. So normally the bigger lads, I was one of the smaller lads in that group. I played football, don't know why I was there. But yeah, part of this kind of rugby group. And I remember this kid would sit behind me flicking my ears because my ears stick out a little bit. That pissed me off. It used to piss me off so much. It makes me so angry. But same thing as you. I sat there, I was like, you could just punch him. You could just punch him. But it's the same thing. I didn't want to do it because I don't get told by teachers.
Yeah.
You know, it was that same story. And I went into the same path as you down that kind of lifting line to feel stronger. I was like, well, if I feel stronger in myself, this guy's going to fuck with me. Like, there was no way he's ever going to look at me and go, you know what? But like, I think similar as a redemption story, this guy actually asked me some fitness advice. Genuinely messaged me regarding fitness advice. And I sat there and I was like, this has really come full circle, hasn't it? This has really come full circle. You used to be such a twat, and now it comes round to the point where you're thinking, I'm going to go to this guy that I used to fuck about with at school. I completely forgot about it. But then you go through it. But it's so interesting when we talk on those kind of notions as well.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, because I've had sorry, Nick, I was just going to say, I've had a few former schoolmates who weren't really that kind to me reach out for fitness advice, and then even come down to me gym and join me group training program. I'm like, fat bastard. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Bullies always turn out worse, I find. Like, they might have it in school, but when they get older, they've all lost it, and it's like, what happened? I think if anything, that bullying, like, I'm not saying that we need to get bullied for this, but if anything, it's helped us shape us who we are now. And I want to tell you something real quickly, because you're probably going to cringe at this, but I remember when I was in school, I did have a guy who, we basically said to each other, right, we're going to fight outside of school, we're going to meet here, and everyone's like, ooh, getting ready for it. I never turned up. I never turned up. I was the guy who didn't want to turn up because I was scared, mate. I was scared, and like rightfully so. The guy was bigger than me, twice the size of me.
Yeah.
Don't know why I even thought that would be a good idea. But since getting size, it's made such a difference. Like, you just feel like you have more presence, and I think if anything, it's that not necessarily feeling of people can't start on you. It's just people know you're there and you're not invisible, and like they respect your space. And I feel like so many men and so many women as well would just benefit more by like just having that kind of defense, that inner confidence, knowing that they're not invisible. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think like, and the thing is, most people don't understand that there is a difference between like size and skill. Like, I know personally that if I get into a road rage incident, which I completely avoid, but if hypothetically I did, and some big fella steps out of the car, I know I can take him because I've sparred many people on the juice who are big, and I was always the small kid fighting the bigger fellas. So it's something that I'm used to. I understand that muscles do not equate to skill. Like, I get that, but most people don't. So, like, if you just have a general better physical presence about you, that will just put you in better stead for people just going, oh, he looks like he can handle himself. Little point, actually. Go on, Nick, go on.
Are you saying that you could take Eddie Hall?
Oh, easy. Eddie, come on. I'm going to try and... Oh, did you see that video the other day of the guy like saying, I'll knock you out outside his house? Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was just going to say as well, have you seen that video? Bit of a touchy one, but the video of that PDF file doing the interview, and the interviewer says, right, this is visceral. I'll try and find it and send it to you after this. The interviewer says, what is it that makes you target certain kids over other kids? And like, is it how they look? Is it the colour of the eyes? Whatever. And the guy says, no, the biggest indicator, the biggest thing that I'll look for to target a kid is, what does the dad look like? How does the dad look? If the dad looks intimidating, athletic, scary, or looks like he would be trouble to mess with, then I won't go for the kid. So this PDF file, who's away, I think for life, like a notorious one from America, he chooses his victims entirely based on how weak the dad looks. And I just thought that was absolutely crazy. Like the mind inside, like a notorious PDF file, and he looks not for what the kid looks like, but for what the dad looks like. So I mean, if that doesn't tell you something, then I don't know what does.
Christ, it's incredible. Like those kind of conversations are just eye-opening, aren't they? When we don't think about things that way. We're thinking, a lot of people just think, I'm going to go to the gym, get strong, look better. But when you put it in that context, that say you do have a young daughter or a young son, and these people will go after them specifically because of the shape that you're in, it's just mind-blowing, isn't it? It's crazy how society has got to this point in time where, people listen to this and go, I'm still not going to go train. I'm still not going to go exercise. I'm still not going to go look after my mental toughness and become a bit more resilient with stuff. Because I'm sure if, any of us could walk into the playground and we'd probably stick out like sore thumbs compared to the vast majority of average men there. Let's be totally honest. I know we're in the fitness industry and sport industry, but still, I don't get why people don't have a grasp on their fitness and health more when it's such an essential motor, a driving force for especially blokes to make yourself feel better. So let's talk a little bit on barriers, actually. Where does the barrier for a bloke come in? Why doesn't a bloke start taking control of themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question. I believe most men are lazy, first off. I believe like most men are just lazy and complacent, and they get lost along the way throughout after the youth. But almost the adventure-seeking, risk-taking element in us is beaten out of us after school. You get into your regular job, your routine, you settle down, all that, and I think like it just puts us in like a complacent mindset. We stop taking risks, we stop seeking adventure. So I think most men become lazy. Most men aren't inherently lazy. Look at schoolboys, you can't. I've got 2 boys myself, and my 4-year-old doesn't stop, and I know, and I was the same as well throughout my entire youth. I just always on the go, and I carried that through into my adult life. But I feel like most men are just conditioned gradually into being lazy. They get into relationships. This is a big one. You guys coach. You coach as well, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay, right. You guys understand this. You'd have a client who's going to sign up. Oh yeah, I want to get started. I'm fat. I'm out of shape. I'm going to be type 2 diabetic. My doctor said I've got fatty liver syndrome, whatever. And then you're like, okay, cool. This is the investment. Oh, I need to speak to me missus. I need to speak to my girlfriend. Why? Right, I thought you're not in control of your own household, your own finances. Oh well, I had an online client a few weeks back, and he fell off the wagon. But it took him ages to get signed up because he said my girlfriend or my wife doesn't think it's a good idea to spend X amount, and it wasn't a lot of money on a 12-week program. I'm like, you've just been telling me that you're scared of dying and that you can't run around and play with your kids. So, like, I think relationships, most men let the women control them. They let the missus control all the decisions, and the woman is the leader. Why? Because most men are afraid of having an argument with the missus. I always go into arguments with my girlfriends, not so much anymore, but back in the day, I take the bull by the horns, and I'm like, no, we're going to fix this. Like, I was, by the way, that's not symbolism for domestic violence. I don't literally.
For those listening, basically.
Yeah. No, so like most men are afraid of the argument and afraid of the conflict, and you know they just haven't got that fire in the belly. It's just being fizzled out over time, and they take that into the relationship. They take it into the life, and I just think it crosses all over into fitness. Most men would like to go to the gym, I believe. Most men would like to maybe do a little bit of martial arts, or even a hobby like golfing, or whatever, football. Like it could be anything, but they just tell themselves they haven't got the time and they don't want the missus to disagree with it. I believe relationships are a big part of it.
I think I completely agree with you. Like, completely agree with you. One of the big things, and I've seen it in kind of modern culture, we're living in a world where the separation between... okay, actually, let me reword that. There is a blurred line between the empowerment of women and feminism. I think there is a massive blurred line between that. A lot of people think female empowerment, and I love the ladies that I train. They're fantastic. I love them feeling empowered and great about themselves. But I think a lot of them can cross the line into feminism, where they have to be stronger than a man. They have to be this. There's a necessity there. How do you think we go about managing this and kind of creating the more equality, quote unquote, that people are striving for?
Oh, okay. It's do we get controversial? Okay, like I don't. How do you answer this? I feel like you're totally right on the whole feminism side of things. I think it all just starts with men. It's our fault at the end of the day. We let women have this narrative about empowerment and equality and all this because we want to get in the pants. So we don't want to upset them. We want to simp for them. Go, oh, yeah, you're right, feminism, equal pay. Hey. You do get paid the same as men anyway. You do. It's just that you work less hours when you actually look at the stats. If we're just touching upon this for a moment. You look at the stats and there's like 22 different variables as why women earn less. They don't get paid less. They earn less time off. They don't do as much overtime. They ask for less promotions. They typically choose careers that pay less. Men choose engineering, science, IT type careers. And we're not man enough, once again going back to the first question, we're not man enough to just put them in the place and say, that's wrong. That's like, you know, it's so, like, but at the end of the day, women want to be told. I believe, like, you know, what women say they want and what they actually want are two completely different things. They say that they want this female empowerment and all that and all the equality, so on and so forth. Really, they want a man to take control and lead the way. It's just, I think, maybe all this is a byproduct of men checking out of leading. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, am I answering the question?
Yeah, 100%.
I'll tell you what, it's sad because on one element, like you've said Jordan Peterson before, so I imagine you've obviously listened to a bit of his stuff. But he mentions along the lines of women are being taught and told to be a man in terms of use their masculine energy, drive forward, do everything that a man's doing, and a lot of them miss out on motherhood and the benefits that a woman has when it comes to motherhood, like the natural advantages that they have with that side of things anyway, because they're the only ones that can obviously harbour life, is completely stripped away. It's like it's the identity of a female in a lot of ways, is that they can have a baby, they can nurture a baby, they're often more connected to the baby than a man is. Yeah. And taking away that from women's ambitions in life is a terrible thing, especially when we need to reproduce in order to carry on living as a human race. And I think women are confused, and I think men are confused. And I feel like society's springing back at the moment. I don't know if it is, but it feels like the narrative is changing towards freedom of speech is becoming more available again, potentially. Obviously, when Trump got into power, Mark Zuckerberg released the idea that we'd have more freedom of speech on Facebook again, which is great. And since then, I just feel like, you know, we're starting to take back the narrative that potentially it's more of a balanced worldview. Hopefully, we don't swing too far right either. We obviously want to have a balanced view at all times. But I do feel like the last 10 years was very feminist, very liberal, very left wing, you know, point of view on social media, and it's good to see some talk about this.
Yeah, do you know, that's really good what you said there, and a little point on politics. I used to be kind of left wing just because you're from Liverpool and you're told that's what you're meant to be. Labour, Labour, Labour for Liverpool. We're Scouse, not English. All this stupid narrative. We're not sheep like the rest of the country. No, we are sheep within our little herd. Everyone's just all sheep. So, and then I got into business and I was like, do you know what? Right, let's look at the policies. I mean, it was me missus who showed me. She was like, oh, Conservative, yeah, if Conservative get in, we pay 20,000 less tax a year. I'm like, well, I'm a struggling business owner. Let's go with that then. But the main thing, this is quite funny. The main thing that drove me a little bit more to the right side of the spectrum is seeing all the Trump derangement syndrome out there, all the feminism stuff, and like everything, all this like chaos and all these like crazy people who associated with the left. I was like, before I even had any knowledge about politics, I was like, right, okay, all the people over there seem very hateful, and they're always insulting. They never really listen to these viewpoints. They stand outside buildings screaming. They always incite violence. Do I just want to associate with that side, or this side who talk about family, lower tax, business, prosperity? Oh yeah, that kind of makes a bit more sense with my values. And you actually just look at it logically like that. That's how I kind of strayed away from all that side of things, just by looking at it of association. Oh, those people associated with that side. Do I resonate with those people? Not really. More so this side.
Yeah, definitely.
Go on, Nick.
I was just going to say briefly, very quickly, like, I think when you looked at like the ones that were the loudest and the ones that were screechiest and the ones that moaned all the time, it was the left side. And when we say the left side, we obviously mean the extreme left side, the minority, because there's a lot of left policies that are good. There's a lot of right policies that are good. It's just the extremes that always get the attention in anything. You know, for example, in the fitness industry, we've got Liver King on one end, you know, and the vegan teacher on the other side, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here? It's always the extremes that get the attention, and there's people like us that a little bit more in the middle, I'd hope anyway. And we're just trying to teach people that balance is key. Like, why can't we just have a bit of a balance? Why can't we meet in the middle?
World is very much seesaw orientated. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe in like being a little bit polarized and a little bit controversial, like initially, but then to get the people in to then deliver the actual message. I mean, you guys know Alex Hormozy. Yeah, I remember. So I was on the Gym Launch program back in the day. It was really, really good, and one of the most valuable lessons he taught me was you've got to give people what they want to then give them what they need. And he used the analogy of, it's like a dog. The dog needs the medicine when it's sick, but the dog won't take the medicine, so you got to wrap it in ham, and then it'll take the medicine. That's how I kind of see, like, say, my online persona a little bit, or my online presence is, like, wrap everything in ham first, but then once they get into it, they're getting like what they need, the right message. Then that's how I kind of package my stuff.
Love that.
Yeah, it makes complete sense to do it that way, because again, people, and I've read in a book recently called The Economist. I don't think I've got it around me right now. Fantastic book, all about the presence of this hyper busy society where we are just over advertised to. There's so much out there that we are just so like drawn to all these different pretty colours and lights, but the building blocks that we actually attain to are still there. They're in the foundations of everything we do, and the way to sift through the noise is actually going a lot simpler and kind of just talking to what the people want as a problem solve, not of how good something is, because there's so many, we know false coaches, we like to call them, who basically get ripped and shredded and sell a 12-week program, and then people come to us and be like, I did this such and such program for, I don't know, Marbella or whatever, and they go down that line, and they're selling it as the best program ever. When it comes to that coaching side, because again, you're a coach yourself, how do you have these kind of more, shall we say, once you've got them with the ham, how do you transition them down into understanding the actual message and talk to them in the way that they need to be taught?
Yeah, good question. I do it in like, so you mean specifically about like the coaching practices and the coaching process?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe similar to you guys, you can tell me if I'm right. I just do it in like a phased approach. So like we start off with very small changes, like just nothing too crazy, and then just build the habits. So gradually, like you're building into what they need, and it's not like this big change. It's not like a bait and switch. Like it's like, okay, so we're going to start off just by reducing some of these junk foods out of your diet, and then gradually just changing mini habits. So then they're not like recognizing like, oh whoa, like they're not shocked by anything. It's just a gradual change, and it builds them into what they need. So I'm giving them what they want by making a very small change, something easy and sustainable they can stick to. And then, yeah, I'm gradually evolving the program as we go then.
Yeah, I love that. And we do the same, by the way, where like we obviously change people habit by habit, you know, over a slow, sustained approach because it is obviously the best way. I remember a quote from Ty Lopez, and obviously Ty Lopez is one of those figures that maybe not all his quotes are necessarily the best, but and by the way, those that know Ty Lopez is the one outside the Lamborghini and the mansion doing the ads about 5 years ago or 10 years ago
Here in
now.
my garage.
Yeah.
And he said that most 25-year-olds can change through, you know, quite quickly by just saying, right, I'm going to do this, go all in and change. And he said that people that are over 25, they can still change, but it's more than likely your brain's more like solid. It's like had that kind of period of sponginess. Now, if you know what I mean, we're in this
Yeah.
place where the brain is more developed. It's less likely to take on new information.
Is it
Um,
neuroplasticity? Something to do with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he mentioned that like as we get older, the thing that can make us change all in one go, is normally massive trauma. So, for example, you're 35 years old and you said, well, you've got, you know, you're 250 kilos, you've got risk of heart disease. In fact, you have heart disease now. You might die in the next 5 years. And that kind of thing can trigger people to make change quick. And those people may benefit from multiple habit change all at once.
Yes.
My client Dan Wilson, not this Dan obviously, better hair, sorry Dan. He he is in his early 40s. He's been smoking all of his life, and obviously he knows the risk for it, but he still does it. Recently, he had hypnotherapy, which has its pros and cons, and it actually sparked something in him to change his habit with smoking. He hasn't smoked for 4 weeks now. But on top of that, he found it easier to actually stack other habits with that. So now he doesn't drink as much coffee, drinks more water, he has a better diet, and he's managed to do it all at once just because he was able to get his head in the right space because of this massive traumatic potential future for him if he doesn't get a handle on it. So I like both approaches, but I think your approach of doing slow, steady, sustainable is really the most important for most people, unless you have something that is imminent and is like you life threatening.
No, I love that. I've never heard it worded like that, but it's something that we all know. But having the trauma be the trigger where then you can implement all habits at once. Because I've got one client, just one in-person client. I just train him just because it keeps me active in my gym. And he was type 2 diabetic, and he was like 18 stone or something. And he came to me hating exercise, bad drinker, just loads of takeaways. And we just pretty much implemented everything at once. Now I need to tell him to take a rest day. Like, he's no longer type 2 diabetic, and he won't have a rest day. And I'm like, you're doing too much. He's trained 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day, and he's lost like 4 stone, looks fantastic. And yet we took pretty much the all or nothing approach because he had the motivation there to do so. On the other hand, maybe you guys can say if you've had experience like this. I've also had people sign up and be like, oh yeah, I'm in this really bad predicament. My dad died of a heart attack. My uncle had a heart attack as well. I'm next in line. I've got a big, massive belly. The doctor said this, that. And then like a few weeks down the line, they fall off the wagon. I'm like, and sometimes they'll even say stuff like, oh, it's just the motivation. I'm like, you've got all the motivation you need. You're going to die. How is that not enough motivation? Have you guys had experience like that where people have all of the motives yet still can't get it done?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I find it quite prevalent among, let's say, 25% of clients that normally come through the door from what I've trained over the last 5 years. And it's just like they've had some external factors that have come in, like, I don't know, some of them have got like osteoarthritis, some of them have got really, really weak control of their core, leading to possible spinal fractures down the, like just loads of little things like this. And as you say, like diabetic symptoms, you know, clinical obesity I've had some clients come in with, and still the recognition between actually making, still it's like a yo-yo. They'll be making amazing progress, and then other weeks they'll just be absolutely none whatsoever, and it just continues to go through this line. But actually, you're speaking about motivation a lot. It's not a lot down to motivation, it's the discipline and the headspace that a lot of people get into. And I think us as coaches, we're starting to switch a little bit into becoming more behaviorally adept, I want to say, kind of understanding why people aren't making the changes over that point in time. Yeah. What do you think, like, real discipline looks like when people are transitioning from this motivational state to truly disciplined, like your client who's now training 7 times in a week?
Okay, so true discipline, they're these like buzzwords, aren't they? Like motivation, discipline. It's like, but what do they really truly mean? We all say you've got to be disciplined, but I think people don't get it until they've done it long enough. So it's getting them through that little valley to come out on the other side. So maybe like 6 weeks in or 8 weeks in, where they're not really seeing crazy results yet, and they don't really understand how important the discipline aspect is, and it's still a little bit of an uphill battle. It's raining today, it's cold today, I might just skip the gym. They're still really sore, they've got to get up early, they've got to sacrifice all these foods that they like. The taste buds haven't adapted to the new foods yet. So the discipline hasn't almost kicked in yet. Everything is still giving them resistance. Like, I think if you can get them through that little valley, this is my experience, and then they can start actually enjoying the process, enjoying how good the food, how much more energy they have from the food and the training, and how the endorphins are flowing after the workout. You get them to that enjoyment phase, I think the discipline becomes easier. So I think like the key is making the process enjoyable for clients, and the discipline comes a lot easier. Why was I so disciplined with martial arts when I was younger? Just because I loved it. I didn't want to not go. And then why were you guys and myself so disciplined with training? Just because you love it. You're getting a great pump in the mirror, you know, and then as time goes on, you're getting more attention off girls and stuff like that. You feel stronger. Like, so it's hard to tell people that the discipline is what matters at the start of the process, because all they have is resistance and hate towards the fact that they've got to do this process in the first part, and they're in a very vulnerable position. Like, they've got to tell you about all their insecurities and all that. So I think trying to make it enjoyable for them and just get them to stay the course, the discipline becomes easy then.
Mate, I can't agree more. Like, I hate this thing where you go on Instagram and there's one reel saying you need motivation to start, and then there's another one like David Goggins say it's all about discipline. It's all about discipline. Fuck motivation. You need them both, and like. If anything, motivation.
If you were a fly on the wall in your current life, going through the journey that you've been through, with all the confidence issues, with going into martial arts, what is one main piece of advice that you would give your younger self right now, based on the experience you've had?
I only train this long because I enjoy it, and it's not necessarily the training. I can't say for sure anyone would necessarily enjoy every training session, but it's that feeling afterwards that you get, and like the respect you get and the confidence you get. So addictive, and that's the stuff that you like and you really start to enjoy. Mate, you literally so relatable and on so many levels. I'm sure people listening to this will feel the same, and that's the same for females and males alike. Like, I think we all have some kind of like need to enjoy our journey when it comes to getting in shape.
You guys are making me think as well. Like, you know, the questions that you're giving me, I'm actually having to like think a little bit. They're not easy. They're a little bit curvebally. I'm tapping into the head a little bit today.
Yeah, well, I've got one more for you, very, 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 very quickly. So if you were a fly on the wall in your current life, going through the journey that you've been through with all the confidence issues, with, going into martial arts, what is one main piece of advice that you would give your younger self right now, based on the experience you've had?
Okay. Stop caring what people think. The only regrets that I have in life come from me listening to external influences, I've always been the type of person when I was younger to not care too much what people think. Like I've always just went down my own path, always stuck with my own hobbies, did my own thing. But then later on in life, I'll give you an example. So I actually started the YouTube stuff in 2015, and it was going quite good, to be honest. I had like 100 subscribers, but then my videos were getting like 10,000 views, 20,000 views, 30,000 views. They're still up now, and like a little bit of an inside information, I was high when I was doing them, so I was all over the place in my life. I was drinking every day, I was smoking weed, it was terrible, but that's because I was just playing escapism from my business. But that's a different story entirely. But yeah, so I started the YouTube and it was going really well, and I got monetized, got to like 1,200 subscribers dead quick, and then a few people in the gym caught wind that I was doing these videos, and it was talking about like fat shaming stuff, like, you know, like body positivity, all that movement. I was talking about that and basically vilifying it and saying, you know, it's stupid and stuff. And a few members caught wind of it in the gym. Shaun called that woman fat, oh, this and that. And, you know, one of the coaches and then my missus said, oh, you best be careful with those YouTube videos. And so I just stopped. And if I wouldn't have stopped, then I don't know, maybe I'd be on like 1 million or 2 million subscribers by now. And the amount of opportunities that YouTube has afforded me is just crazy. So, and it's only getting better, bigger and better. So I'm like, oh, imagine where I'd be now if I didn't stop doing that. And there's other examples as well, like where, you know, just listen to external outside influences, and then I have regrets. So yeah, that's why I feel like I'm making up for lost time now. It's like go guns blazing, no regrets anymore. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just say don't listen to people.
And mate, to be honest with you, like you're doing really well. For those that don't know who Shaun is, you know, YouTube channel, I believe it's what, 250,000?
No, it's like 210.
210. And I know it's a fighting channel. I know you've obviously got your fitness element that you are deeply passionate about. And obviously we'll tell everyone where to go when we get to the end of the podcast on this. But mate, you've obviously got a huge amount of success in it. And you know, your videos are entertaining. For guys out there that are interested in fighting, Shaun is up there with the true Geordies and the weird concepts of the world. At least from my point of view. Yeah, no, honestly, you're a really entertaining guy, and I really like your videos, mate. And to have you on here is quite weird in a way. Yeah. Like you're the most down to earth person, and normally when you get a YouTuber with a lot of subscribers, you don't get that same feeling. But it's awesome.
I just say like I'm just a normal lad, and I started YouTube with fitness content, but because I got sick, I couldn't no longer train or do any fitness content. So I was like, what else can I talk about? Fighting, because that's what I know. So if you go back on my channel, you can see all the fitness content on there. My goal was to use that to get more online clients and, you know, build my brands and stuff, but I had to pivot. So now it's all fighting based, and when I've uploaded like a fitness based video, they've bombed. So I'm like, ugh. So I've had to start a new fitness channel now. So I've got two. I've got my fitness channel and my fighting channel. So yeah, but I just had to pivot because I was sick.
And for those that don't know, recently I saw Shaun. You've been with Josh Mooney. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, big fitness guy.
Yeah.
Josh was cool.
Yeah. So I met Josh last year. We went on a Dubai business mastermind, and it was like a family holiday as well. But I'd done the mastermind, and yeah, Josh was hosting it. And so I met him. I met Mike Thurston. I met a few other like big players in Dubai. Just networked, and it was absolutely fantastic. One of the best things I did. I like paying for the mentorship and going to these events, even though I know what I need to be doing business-wise. Sometimes just being in the room with a bunch of business killers who are playing the game at such a higher level, it just gets you thinking outside of the box. Sometimes you can feel like a big fish in a small pond. I like to be the small fish in a big pond. And then I went back on a holiday with my family this year, but I set up a bunch of collaborations because I want to do more in real life content. You know, I did this sit down commentating content because I had to, because I was just sick with the long COVID. But now that I'm better, it's like I want to get out there into the world and, you know, do collaborations with different people. And then we're going back again I'm going to Marbella, in June for the next mastermind. It's great, especially you guys in fitness. Are you a part of any sort of mastermind at all?
We were doing like a kind of mentorship coachy thing a little while ago, and it has been on our minds for a little bit to join another one. It's just kind of like we've said about it for a while. We need the finances to get us there at this point in time. It's affording some of these masterminds and mentorships, if we're totally honest. And like we would thoroughly love to, like we've got a few in mind that we want to do, But then it's like, if we have a few clients drop off, then you're going to go back and we're trying to manage like PT, online coaching, the podcasting side of it now that we're trying to keep up. And as you know, with the business, is like spinning like 6 plates at a time. So it's then figuring out a way that we can do it. But no, 100%, it's something for our future. Like, definitely.
Yeah, and we'll definitely catch up in the future at some point, especially when this podcast keeps growing as it is. Like, we're starting to pick up some serious views, especially from what we saw today on our playlist suggestions. So we'll be wearing nice bright coloured socks from next week, which everyone will be wearing.
Hey, there we are.
Yeah. Wait, what have you got tonight?
Hold on, I don't think I can get mine up. There you go.
So there you go. All you
Lovely
freaks
stuff.
watching.
Yeah, I told Shaun about it, by the way.
Oh, it's so weird today. So weird today. Right, I think we round off the podcast there. I think it's been absolutely splendid, and we've appreciated you coming on, Shaun. Where can people find more about you, your coaching service, and all of your media?
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, so my YouTube channel for like the fighting stuff, it's more just like an entertainment style channel. That's just Shaun Jones Fighting. If you want to learn more about fitness, lifting, Shaun Jones Fitness on YouTube, and I'm Shaun Jones Coaching. So Shaun Jones Fighting, Shaun Jones Fitness, Shaun Jones Coaching. I need to change me Instagram to Shaun Jones Fitness so it matches the YouTube. But yeah, if you just type in Shaun Jones on YouTube or Shaun Jones Coaching on Instagram, I'm on there. I've got my app, so that's like a low ticket approach. Builds out customized workouts for you, all your nutrition, and then I've also got one-on-one online coaching as well. And that's it.
Awesome stuff. Perfect. Thank you very much, and thank you ever so much for watching, guys. We appreciate you and the freaks out there for sure. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and then stay tuned for more awesome content with more awesome guests to come. We will catch you guys later.